So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Serco Test and Trace workers being charged at more than double their pay. So it talks about here in this article that the workers that were employed by Serco, not directly via subcontractors, were being paid £9.50 an hour, whilst the government were being charged about £21.50 an hour. So the middlemen here made a ton of money, here. Um, this just shows you how bad in terms of value for money this is, and this is good work from the Guardian and Jasper Jolly. So the rate was charged at by Sensi, a London-based call centre company for workers tasked with calling the contacts of people who had tested positive for COVID-19, a source has said. So basically what happened was the trace element, so test and trace, obviously you have to contact people, right? Those call centres that called people were charging people £9.50 an hour, especially when the service was rubbish, right? They didn't do a good job of contacting people, and these companies ran away with massive profit margins, huge profit margins, despite the failure of Serco and Sensei and other companies. Neither Serco nor Sensei disputed the figures. That tells you that this is pretty accurate. That the government were being charged at about £9.50 an hour for workers who are paid. No, sorry. The government was being charged around £21.50 an hour for workers paid £9.50 an hour. So it shows you that some of the costs went to obviously logistics and stuff, but most of it probably went to profit. The revelation prompted further concerns about value for money offered by the test and trace system, led by Conservative peer Dido Harding. Dido Harding, who's running for the role of being in charge of Public Health England. Disaster zone right there. It has already faced scrutiny over efficacy, although the proportion of contacts reached by the private sector contact centres has improved since earlier in the pandemic, when it lagged behind public sector tracers. So what you can see from this is people that worked in the public sector, people that did the tracing in the public sector, were far better than the ones in the private sector, and they still haven't caught up yet. So this should have been kept in the public sector, but it wasn't. So shocker, because people have, there's money to be made here, and the government decide to exploit this opportunity in order to help their mates. In order to help their friends, the government decided that it was in their best interest to start funding companies that are rubbish at their jobs, giving a ton of money to Dido Harding, who's failed upwards during her career. And it shows you that the country went to 2 aggressive lockdowns, and maybe the country's looking at ending coronavirus restrictions later, in part because of the fact that Dido Harding and Test and Trace did an awful job. That's the reason why we might be looking at the continuation of lockdown restrictions, because not everyone has been offered the vaccine yet, and so COVID cases will still keep going up. Hospitalization rates haven't gone up dramatically, but the point is people are still catching COVID that haven't been vaccinated, and that's a problem. So it says here, instead of just cashing in on the hard work of agency workers, recruitment agencies should treat... So who's this talking here? Sorry, this is Tim Sharp, the TUC Senior Employment Rights Officer, said, this looks excessive. They go beyond the already inflated rates of commission commonplace in the industry. And instead of just cashing in on the hard work of agency workers, recruitment agencies should treat their workers fairly and pay them properly. This is a big problem with the way agencies treat workers. Certain agencies treat workers anyways. Too many agency workers face unpredictable hours, limited rights, and low pay. And this is, the gig economy once again rearing its ugly head and causing problems within Britain. This is a problem, and the gig economy really needs to be looked at because, agency workers don't have the same rights as other workers that are employed directly by the company. Serco was limited to a earning margin of 4% on top of costs. So, 4% not the best. I suppose, I think actually, I'm not sure, but I thought their margin would be allowed to be higher for its test and trace work, but its suppliers were not under the same obligation. So it's possible that maybe deals were made where Serco would pay over the odds to these companies that have been subcontracted, and maybe they would somehow give the money back to Serco in a way through other means, but that's just speculation on my part. But obviously, because there was no cap on profits, Serco just picked whoever to do these, at a very inflated rate. Sensei did not say how much profit it had made on the contract. Shocker. And they should tell us, because this was a contract that, ultimately is being paid by taxpayers. So Sensei should have to tell us how much profit is being made on this contract, but they're not going to because they don't have to. The full test and trace system is budgeted to cost around £37 billion over 2 years. or almost £550 million for each person in the UK. That's a lot of money, and the simple fact is it hasn't given us value. Other countries have spent far less on their test and trace systems and had much better results than we have. But the government and its private suppliers have provided few details of how the money was spent. And again, this is taxpayers' money. Everything here should be transparent. They should tell us exactly how the money was spent. But they're not going to, because profits were made here. And if the taxpayers knew, well, I doubt they would care, because no one in this country, many people in this country do not seem to care about the way taxpayers' money is being wasted in this country. The 1.3 billion budget for contact tracing included contracts worth 720 million for the 2020-21 split between Serco and members of the FTSE 250 index, Citel, a French-owned call center company. So once again, it's not just British middlemen running away profits. We've got French ones as well. So maybe that will annoy some Brexiteers. Who knows? But a lot of public money has been wasted here. And again, a lot of middlemen have made money. These are FTSE 250 index companies. So you're talking about 200 companies within the top 250 richest within the country making a buck off this. Imagine, you charge a company £21.50 and their labour costs are half of the money you've given them. Some of that money is going to logistics, but the vast majority of it is going to profit. Serco hired as many as 24 employment agencies to find work for its contract tracing system. So a lot of money, won't just go to the workers here, but it's going to go to agency fees, to hire the workers, to find them. So that's a lot more money that agencies are going to make from this. The Guardian has previously revealed that Serco's supply chain, not including Sensei, was using companies that experts feared could be defrauding the Treasury via a notorious tax scheme. So not only do you have middlemen making vast amounts of profits, but you have companies being paid by the taxpayer who use very dodgy tax schemes to get out of tax. So you're rewarding companies now that commit, possibly tax evasion or avoidance. Well done, Serco. Well done, Dido Harding. Well done, Rishi Sunak. Well done, Matt Hancock. You are rewarding potential tax avoidance people. Ridiculous. Sensei said its rates were standard in the call center industry. Both Sensei and Serco highlighted that the overall rate also covers the cost of technology management, holiday, sickness, and mandatory pensions and national insurance payments. So you're telling me that you got to pay, around not about £11 ish on those things. Like, get out of here. Like, don't be stupid now. You're double them. Words cannot explain what I'm trying to say right now, which is really bad considering the thing I'm trying to do right now. But you're telling me, right, you have to charge £21.50 for a worker paid £9.50 an hour because of things like sick pay, holidays, and other things, when some agency workers don't really get access to these things that much because of the hours they do and the nature of their contracts on occasion. So this is so stupid. The cost of technology management, like, what is the cost of technology? Tell us. Give us a detailed breakdown, Sensei, of where this money went. Do it. If you can't, it's because you're lying and you've made a buck off this. You made a lot of profit. So tell us. Ring Central, a calling technology provider, in October said that many large call center providers charge their clients rates of below £20 an hour for each worker. So you're saying that the government are paying above market rates for the services provided by Sensei, because Sensei are charging £21.50, but the market rate looks like it's below £20, so it could be £18 per worker. A Serco spokesperson said our subcontractors providing contact center services will incur a number of costs that are in addition to the wages paid to call handlers. We obviously know that, but is it more than double what you're paying the actual workers? I doubt it. How can it be more than double what you're paying people? This is so dumb. Especially when, according to Ring Central, it's less than £20 an hour. So we can assume, say, 19, 18, yet you're paying £21.50. And that might not seem like a lot of money, but you've got 24 employment agencies hired to find 18,000 workers. So over the long term of 2 years, that's a lot of money. Someone can do the maths, I'm sure, in the comments. You're doing, say, 21.5 times 18,000, and you compare that to 19 £19 times 18,000. You do the maths on that one, pal. I'm bad at maths. A circus, we mentioned that. A Department of Health and Social Care spokesperson said Test and Trace has had a dramatic impact on reducing the spread of the virus. However, Sage found it only had a marginal impact on transmission. So you're telling me that you budgeted about £37 billion, right, of taxpayers' money, and the service that you employed only had a marginal impact on transmission. Like, that's an embarrassing waste of taxpayers' money right there. That is shocking stuff. £37 billion can buy you so much. Can buy you so much. That's less than Manchester United Football Club. You could legitimately buy Manchester United Football Club and put out a starting 11 of absolute killers, front to back, and you still have change. You'd still have change. That's how much money these guys are wasted. £37 billion, you could do so much for the country. Even if we spent £20 billion, we overpaid our ton by, say that, there's still so much you could have done with that money, especially when you're lowballing kids when it comes to, education and things like that. You could have done so much with that money. You could have reformed this country with some of that money. You could have given money to deprived areas in order for them to, help themselves get out of the COVID pandemic, once we go in more into the recovery phase. But instead you decided to give it to Dido, Harding and Serco, whose services had a marginal impact on transmission, according to Sage. That is embarrassing. The government spokesperson said the use of third-party supplies enabled us to work quickly and respond to the pandemic during the winter peak. I mean, did it though? Because you had about what? So March to say November, right? You had at least about 8 months or something like that to prepare for this. You needed 8 months to quickly respond to the pandemic. That's not quick, my friend. That's hella slow. That is mighty slow, bro. Mighty slow. 8 months. Especially when other countries had better test and trace systems. They had better apps than we had, far quicker, because people like Dominic Cummings were apparently too obsessed with chasing data, compiling data from people instead of dealing with the task at hand, which was COVID and the pandemic. This is just embarrassing, guys. I'm frustrated. I'm not gonna lie. The taxpayer's been robbed blind, and the simple fact is, no one seems to care. Like, this is not big news. This should have been huge news, but it's not. I saw this story on Twitter. It's been reported in The Guardian, which is great work from The Guardian, but surely someone has to start asking Matt Hancock about this stuff. Someone has to be asking Rishi Sunak about this stuff, because when they tell you there's no money, right, for your children, for your family or whatever, when they say they can't help you, ask them how they spent, how they budgeted £37 billion for a service that had, quote, a marginal impact on transmission. A marginal impact, minor impact. Maybe you could argue they saved some people's lives through the service, sure, but I'm not going to say no one's life is worth money. But in terms of as a service, the service that Serco offered is rubbish. They could easily have spent that money on so many other things, recruiting nurses, doctors, repairing hospitals. But no, it was given to Serco. It was given to Tory friends. It was given, through alleged corruption. And I've got nothing else to say apart from let me know what you think in the comments below. If you want to challenge yourself at the maths, go for it. But yeah, like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.